Okay, let's dive in. We've got this really striking claim right at the top here from Eduardo Farina over at Alpha Lions Academy.
Oh, yeah. What's he saying?
He's saying holding just 1,000 XRP could turn out to be the best financial decision someone could make by the end of 2025. That's quite a statement.
It is bold. It sets a high bar right away, doesn't it? Right. Especially given, XRP's whole history and the debate around it.
Exactly. And that's what this deep dive is all about for you, the learner. You pulled together this really interesting stack of expert takes, news reports, all focused on XRP's potential future in 2025.
Right.
So our mission here is to, cut through the noise, get to the core insights. What are the informed people saying? The good, the bad, the maybe.
Precisely. We've looked at everything technical charts, market predictions, the latest on the regulatory front to give you that focused picture.
All right, so let's kick things off with the optimistic view, the bullish case. Eduardo Farina seems pretty central here. What's making him so positive?
Well, a key part of his argument is this idea that XRP is sort of decoupling, moving away from the standard crypto cycles we usually see.
Decoupling? How so?
He points to how it performed earlier in this cycle. Remember that big rally late last year, late 2024? Jumped up to, $3.34?
I do, yeah. Six-fold jump.
Right. His point is XRP often lags, but that early strength this time around suggests something different might be happening, that there's maybe more gas in the tank for 2025.
Okay, interesting. So what specific things does he think will, fuel that growth?
There's a few things coming together, in his view. Number one, the SEC lawsuit being resolved.
Yeah.
Getting that clarity that XRP isn't a security, that's huge.
Opens doors, presumably.
Big time. Let's Ripple talk more freely with traditional finance. Then there's rising interest from those institutions, the potential for XRP ETFs finally launching.
Oh, yes. ETFs keep popping up.
Exactly. And Ripple's own moves, buying companies like Hidden Road, maybe even acquiring Circle, potentially lots of strategic plays.
Okay, so if all that comes together, what kind of prices are we talking? What are the targets?
Farina's targets are pretty ambitious. He thinks $10 is highly possible by the end of 2025.
$10? Wow.
Yeah. And even throws out $100, though he admits that Jorbe needs massive adoption, tokenizing real-world assets on a large scale, like property or commodities on the ledger.
So at $100, that 1,000 XRP investment he mentioned becomes $100,000.
That's the math, yeah. But looking more broadly, Bitpanda reports analysts seeing maybe $5 to $10 as an average price in 2025 if things go well.
Still significant upside.
Definitely. Trading News has shorter-term targets like $3. Longer term, maybe $5.85, even mentions $8.76 down the line.
Right.
And prediction markets. Blockchain Magazine says some folks there believe it could break its old all-time high, above $4.
Okay, so there's definitely some bullish sentiment. Is there any technical chart stuff backing this up?
Yeah, Trading News highlights a few technical signals. XRP broke above a key downward trend line, which traders often see as a buy signal, suggesting momentum might be shifting up. And CryptoQuant data shows a big drop in XRP flowing onto exchanges.
Right.
Less selling pressure, potentially. Plus, the super trend indicator just turned green again. First time since March. Last time that happened, November 2024, there was a big surge after.
Right, I remember that.
And you got the MACD trending up, RSI around 61, which suggests, there's still room to climb before it looks overbought.
So the charts aren't completely disagreeing then? What about Ripple itself? What are their plans for 2025? Does it line up?
It seems to. 21 Shares laid out their strategy, making the XRP Ledger, or XRPL, the main platform for banks and big businesses.
How?
Through upgrades. They're adding identity verification, building a compliant trading platform, introducing lending tools. They're aiming for under-collateralized lending by Q3 2025 using their stablecoin, RLUSD, and tokenized assets.
Interesting. Lending.
Yeah, and making it compatible with Ethereum through something called an EVM sidechain. That's planned for Q2 2025. Basically lets Ethereum apps run on XRPL.
Expands the ecosystem.
Right. Plus new token types for real-world assets, better liquidity pools, even an optional clawback feature for asset recovery.
Sounds like they're definitely trying to court the big players. Are we actually seeing more use of the network?
Seems so. 21 Shares has a chart showing active addresses are way up, 300, 400% since September 2024, if you ignore the temporary spikes.
What's driving that?
Probably a mix of things. They lowered the cost to open an account back in December 24, and these partnerships for tokenizing assets, RTAX, Meld Gold, Zonix, that likely helps too.
And what about the price right now? Or, well, very recently.
Let's see. Binance Square had it around $2.55 on May 12th, 2025, up about 7.7% in 24 hours then. Their bullish case even suggested a range of $4.85 to $7.
Okay. And it's not just crypto-specific stuff, is it? Macro things play a role.
Yeah, Disrupt Africa mentioned the pause in U.S.-China tariffs. That could be a positive influence on the wider crypto market, which might lift XRP too.
And that SEC settlement. It seems like that really helped investor mood.
Absolutely. Binance Square directly connects the settlement to stronger investor confidence. It removed a huge cloud, right?
Definitely. Okay, so that's a pretty strong case for the bulls. But we need balance. What about the other side? The bearish view or just the risks?
Right. So Bitpanda lays out a bearish scenario, price potentially dropping back to around 11.93 cents.
Ouch. What would cause that?
Well, maybe the SEC does successfully appeal somehow, or institutions get cold feet about crypto generally, or just a prolonged market downturn.
And trading news, even though they mentioned bullish signals, they had some warnings too, didn't they?
They did. Pointed to falling open interest in futures, which can mean less conviction among traders. Also, more longs being liquidated than shorts recently, meaning more people betting on price rises got wiped out.
Not a great sign.
No. Plus, trading volume was down. That can sometimes signal waning interest or uncertainty.
And even those prediction markets weren't all sunshine and rainbows.
No. Blockchain Magazine noted there's still a perceived chance the price could drop below $2. So definitely not a one-way bet in those markets.
Is there a bearish technical take as well?
Yes. CryptoFront News points to XRP's history. Sharp rallies often followed by deep corrections. They saw that early 2025 surge to $3.70, then the pullback, and suggested it could fall further.
Any specific levels to watch?
They mentioned $2.48 as key support.
Yeah.
If it breaks below that, they warned it could head down towards $1.54, maybe even $1.37.
Okay, beyond price charts, what are the bigger, longer-term challenges?
Competition is a big one. Bitpanda, Blockchain Magazine, they both mention rivals like Stellar, Algorand, Solana, Hedera, all aiming for similar things. Plus, you still have Swift, the traditional system.
Right, they're not standing still.
Exactly. And just general tech advancement in crypto, could someone else build something better that leapfrogs XRPL? That's always a risk.
And regulation, even with the settlement.
Still a wild card. Future rules, maybe more SEC actions down the line, who knows? Disrupt Africa noted Franklin Templeton's crypto ETF, which holds XRP, got delayed again. Shows regulators are still cautious.
And there was that really long-term bearish view.
Yeah. Trading News mentioned a Gemini forecast for 2030, a scenario where if adoption really stalls, XRP could potentially fall way down to like 13 cents. A stark warning about the need for real-world use.
Okay, let's focus on that SEC lawsuit for a minute. It dominated the XRP story for so long. What was the real impact?
Profound. According to Blockchain Magazine, they talk about opportunity cost. What Ripple could have achieved without that hanging over them.
Yeah, I bet.
It eroded trust, too. Institutions hesitated, partnerships stalled, damaged the brand, and it just sucked up resources, slowed down innovation.
But it's settled now. What were the final terms again?
Right. Blockchain Magazine and Trading News reported Ripple paid a $50 million fine. Potential to get $75 million back, though. And, crucially, the SEC dropped its appeal.
So, big win for Ripple, essentially. What did the price do right after?
It was seen as a win, yeah. But the price jump was, okay, not massive.
Yeah.
Blockchain Magazine suggests the market had kind of already priced in a resolution by then.
So the settlement clears the path, but does that mean it's all clear skies ahead?
Well, Blockchain Magazine says it definitely helps pave the way for growth.
Yeah.
But the long-term effects of that whole saga will probably still linger, shape things.
And there was a change at the SEC.
Yeah, Paul Atkins was appointed. He's seen as more crypto-friendly. That could mean, maybe a lighter touch on enforcement, less appetite for big fights like the Ripple one.
Okay, so it feels like a whole mix of things pulling XRP in different directions. If we had to summarize the absolute key factors influencing the price in 2025, what would they be?
Okay, boiling it down from all the sources. Number one, regulation. Any new rules, SEC moves, clarity, huge.
Right.
Number two, institutional adoption. Real banks, real financial firms using XRPL. Partnerships.
Crucial.
3, tech advancements on the XRPL itself. Can it keep up? Offer compelling features.
Makes sense.
4, broader market sentiment. How's Bitcoin doing? How's crypto overall? That always matters.
The rising tide effect.
Exactly. 5, macroeconomics. Tariffs, inflation, interest rates. The big picture stuff. 6, on-chain activity. Are people actually using it? Transactions, active wallets.
Proof of life.
Yep. 7. Competition. What are Stellar, Solana, etc. doing?
Can't ignore them.
8. Tokenization of real-world assets. Does that actually take off on XRPL?
Big potential there.
And finally, 9. XRP ETFs. If they get approved, that could be a major catalyst.
Okay, that's a lot to track. So for someone looking at all this, thinking about investing, what's the strategic takeaway?
Well, Bitpanda says basically, stay informed, watch the data, watch the regulatory news.
Sensible.
Trading News notes the bullish signals but stresses, manage your risk, be aware.
Always good advice in crypto.
And Farina, going back to him, suggests if you're bullish, maybe think beyond 1,000 XRP. He mentioned 10,000 for more flexibility. But underlying it all, multiple sources say, remember, this is volatile, speculative.
Got it. Okay, quite a journey through the expert takes there. Let's try and wrap this up for you, the learner.
Right. So you've heard the spectrum. On one end, potential for really significant gains, maybe tenfold, driven by adoption, legal clarity, tech upgrades.
Yeah, the $10 plus scenarios.
But then you got the warnings. Pullbacks based on market cycles, technical signals, competition, potential for drops back below $2 or even lower in some scenarios.
A real tug of war.
Absolutely. That SEC settlement, definitely a major milestone, cleared a big obstacle. But XRP's path in 2025 still depends on this really complex mix of all those factors we just listed.
So you came here wanting to cut through the hype, get the essence of what these sources are saying. Hopefully this deep dive gave you a clearer view, the exciting possibilities, and the very real uncertainties.
Which leads us to the final thought. Ripple's clearly pushing hard on institutions and tokenizing real assets. Analysts see potential for big moves up, but also risks of moving down. So the question for you, the learner, maybe isn't just if XRP moves.
But how these big shifts, trying to get banks on board, trying to put real-world stuff on the blockchain, how will that actually redefine XRP's place in the financial world that's changing so fast? What parts of that institutional push or that real-world asset idea seem most convincing or maybe most concerning when you look at these forecasts? Something to chew on.